Hello viewers, welcome to my series on biomolecules. We were discussing carbohydrates. In the previous videos, I have discussed the classification and nomenclature of carbohydrates, and today I am going to discuss the chemical properties of monosaccharides. Viewers, it is highly recommended that you watch my videos in proper sequence, because if you watch in the middle, then you will be losing on some vital concepts, and it will break the natural progression of ideas. So I am trying to evolve the subject naturally. So please watch the videos in their proper sequence. So today we are going to discuss the chemical properties of monosaccharides. Before I open the subject, let me remind you the two structures, the two kinds of structures with which we represent monosaccharides. One was open chain structure, that was Fischer projection, and another was closed chain structure that I am drawing here for glucose. For example, this is the this is the this is the open structure, which is also called Fischer projection. In this you can see this is the aldehyde group, and this is aldehyde group, and these are alcoholic OH groups. An alternative representation of this structure is closed ring structure, in which we represent glucose as this structure, I explained these structures in my previous video, and in this you see that this OH is called glycosidic OH, and these are alcoholic OH groups. So there is one glycosidic OH group, and there are these are alcoholic OH groups. So this difference between glycosidic OH and alcoholic OH group is going to be important in understanding the reactions of monosaccharides. So we can categorize the different chemical reactions of monosaccharides into these groups. First is the reactions given by both glycosidic OH groups as well as alcoholic OH group. Second is the category of reactions which are specific to glycosidic OH group only. Third are the reactions specific to alcoholic OH group only. Fourth are the reactions possessed by carbonyl group, which is the functional group, and also OH groups, alcoholic OH groups. And last is the category of reactions which are specific to carbonyl group. So now we'll discuss each class in detail. In the first category of reactions, that is the reactions of glycosidic OH as well as alcoholic OH group, I am giving one specific reaction, and that is esterification reaction, in which monosaccharides react with acid anhydrides to form derivatives. So here you see, when two molecules of alpha D glucose react with 5 molecules of acetic anhydride, they form 5 molecules of alpha D glucose pentacetate, and in this reaction acetic anhydride has to be taken in pyridine. So this is an example of the reactions in which both glycosidic and alcoholic OH groups are involved. Now coming to the second class of reactions of monosaccharides, in which only glycosidic OH group is involved. We have one example in which methyl alcohol reacts with a monosaccharide, which is glucose in this case. So when methyl alcohol reacts with alpha D glucose, we can see that this methyl group is transferred onto this OH, which is glycosidic OH, and other alcoholic OH groups are spared. And in this reaction, HCl gas acts as a catalyst, and alpha methyl D-glucoside is formed. Now let us see the third category of reactions of monosaccharides, which is the reactions of alcoholic OH groups only. And in this category, I am giving one specific reaction, and that is the reaction of monosaccharides with methyl iodide. Here you can see we start with alpha methyl D-glucoside, and as you can see that glycosidic OH group is already occupied in this case because it is having methyl group attached to this. And when this is made to react with 4 molecules of methyl iodide and silver oxide, then you can see that these 4 methyl groups are going to attach on the 4 alcoholic OH groups only, giving rise to tetramethyl ether of alpha methyl D-glucose. So because an ether is formed in this reaction, so this is an example of etherification reactions. Now let us see the fourth category of reactions of monosaccharides, and these are the reactions of carbonyl group. And in this we'll see the oxidation reactions. Here you see when monosaccharides are oxidized in presence of mild oxidizing agents such as HOBr, then only the aldehyde group is oxidized. And this is important. Here you see that glucose in presence of HOBr forms gluconic acid. And this reaction is of special significance because this reaction is not given by ketosis. So this is specific to aldoses only. So this reaction is used to distinguish between aldoses and ketones, and this is very important property of this reaction. However, when oxidation reaction is carried out in the presence of strong oxidizing agents such as nitric oxide, then you can see that both aldoses and ketoses give this reaction. And here you see when glucose is reacted with the concentrated nitric acid, it forms glucuric acid. And the difference from the earlier reaction is that whereas with mild reagents only this group was oxidized, in this case both this group means glycosidic OH as well as this alcoholic OH group has been oxidized. And when a ketose, for example fructose, is reacted with, this is fructose, when fructose is reacted with the concentrated nitric acid, we see that we get a mixture of products. The difference is that whereas aldoses on oxidation give products with the same number of carbon atoms, the ketoses give a mixture of products which are having different number of carbon atoms. And finally, there are reactions which are specific to the carbonyl group. In this category, we will see reactions. First, the oxidation with the metal hydroxides, then reduction reaction, then Kiriani cyanohydrin synthesis, which was earlier described in a previous video and will be repeated here. then reaction with alanine, reaction with phenylhydrazine, the reaction with hydroxylamine, and finally fermentation. Here is the summary of reaction with cupric hydroxide, which is the most common oxidizing agent. In this, when glucose reacts with cupric hydroxide, which is blue in color, it forms gluconic acid, the oxidation product, and cuprous oxide CO2, which is red in color. And in this, this comes from the oxidizing agent, and we use a variety of oxidizing agent in this reaction. For example, Fehling solution, Benedict solution, or Barford reagent. Now, talking about the common oxidizing agents used for these reactions of monosaccharides, I'll mention these three common oxidizing agents. The most common is Fehling solution, which is formed by mixing of two solutions. First is solution A, that is 7% copper sulfate, and solution B is made up of 25% KOH, which is a strong alkali, and 35% sodium potassium tartrate. So these two solutions are kept separately. Then second is Benedict's reagent, which is a slight modification of this Fehling solution. Again, in this we have the same copper sulfate, but instead of KOH we use sodium carbonate, and instead of sodium potassium tartrate we use sodium citrate. So these modifications are done so as to reduce the alkalinity of the solution. So because the alkalinity is reduced, so we need not keep the solution separate, and the two solutions can be mixed together. So it is more convenient to use, and it is kept as a single solution. And the third is Barford reagent, which is a combination of 7% cupric acid and 1% acetic acid. So again, this reagent is also an oxidizing agent, and it is often used to distinguish between monosaccharides and disaccharides. Next in the reactions of carbonyl group of monosaccharides are the reduction reactions, and these reduction reactions can take place in several ways. Here I am going to describe three ways in which reduction can take place. First is in presence of sodium amalgam, second in presence of strong mineral acids, and third in presence of weak alkalis. So first let us see in the example of reduction reactions is the reduction in the presence of sodium amalgam. As you can see, when sugars are reduced in presence of sodium amalgam, they form corresponding alcohols. For example, when glucose is reduced, then it forms sorbitol. As you can see, the group is reduced. This CHO group is reduced to CH2OH group. However, when mannose, which is having different orientation of H and OH group on this carbon, is reduced, it forms its corresponding alcohol, that is mannitol. However, when we have fructose and it is reduced in presence of sodium amalgam, then you can see that it forms a mixture of sorbitol and mannitol. Why it happens so is because if you reduce this CO group, then the H and OH groups can take two orientations. If it is attached in this form, then it forms sorbitol, and if it attaches in an opposite orientation, then it forms mannitol. So reduction of fructose with sodium amalgam yields sorbitol and mannitol in equal proportions. In an alternative reduction reaction, when monosaccharides are reduced in the presence of strong mineral acids, then they may form furfural or its derivative. If a hexose sugar, for example glucose, is reacted with strong mineral acid, then it forms 5-hydroxy-methyl furfural, which changes into levulinic acid. However, when a pentose, for example ribose, undergoes the same reaction, it forms furfural, as you see here. The last type of reduction reaction that I am going to mention here is that which takes place in the presence of dilute alkalis. For example, calcium hydroxide or barium hydroxide, and the reaction has got a pretty long name. and it's called Lowry-de Brown Alberta von Eckenstein transformation, which is quite a mouthful. What this reaction involves is the movement of proton from a carbon atom to the oxygen atom of adjacent carbonyl group, and you can see that glucose, mannose and fructose all can form a common enediol form, and because of this common enediol form they are interconvertible through this reaction. And here you can see the movement. In glucose, this proton moves from here to here, and this double bond moves from here to here. In case of mannose, proton moves from here to this oxygen and double bond moves from here to here. In case of fructose, double bond moves from here to here and this proton moves from here to here. And this form is called enediol because here you see this is en, this is en, and these two are all. So because there is one en and two alls, so this form is called enediol form. And through this enediol form, these three sugars are interconvertible through this reduction reaction. Now next in the series of the reactions of carbonyl group of monosaccharides is the very famous Killiani-Cyanohydrin synthesis, and this reaction is used for increasing the chain length of monosaccharides, and this reaction was described in the previous video also. Here is a recap of the reaction. The reaction involves 4 steps. First is cyanohydrin reaction, in which the sugar is reacted with HCl forming cyanohydrin, and then the second step is hydrolysis, in which 2 water molecules are added and ammonia is released. In the third step there is lactonization, it results in removal of 1 water molecule. And in the last step there is reduction, and after this reduction reaction what you get is a sugar having 1 more carbon than the sugar that you started with. For example, in this case we started with a sugar having 3 carbon atoms and you end up with a sugar having 4 carbon atoms. So this Killiani-Cyanohydrin synthesis, which we described in previous video also, is frequently used for chain elongation of monosaccharides. Another important reaction of the carbonyl group of monosaccharides is the reaction with alanine, which is an amino acid. Here you see, when a sugar, here I have taken a general sugar formula where you can take glucose or any other sugar. When it reacts with alanine, which is an amino acid, then what happens that the CO group condenses with the amino group of alanine to form this Schiff's base, and water is given out. As you see, water is given out in this reaction, and interestingly there is a Maillard reaction which occurs during baking, in which browning occurs due to condensation of carbohydrates and proteins present in the mixture. The next important reaction of the carbonyl group of monosaccharides is the very famous Osa-Zone reaction. This reaction takes place between a sugar molecule and phenylhydrazine. You see, this is the formula of phenylhydrazine. When sugar molecule reacts with phenylhydrazine, what happens is that this water molecule is given out and gluconohydrazone is formed. When the next molecule of phenylhydrazine adds, then ammonia is given out, as you see here, and aniline is formed and aldenohydrazone is formed. This aldenohydrazone reacts with the third molecule of phenylhydrazine, resulting in the formation of Osa zones and elimination of water molecules, as you see here. After Osa zone formation, the next important reaction of the carbonyl group is oxime formation. This reaction occurs between a sugar molecule and hydroxylamine. Here you see hydroxylamine, and the reaction involves condensation of CO group with this NH2 group and involves elimination of water molecule. As you see here, 1 water molecule is given out and aldoxine is formed. And lastly, among the reactions of the carbonyl group of monosaccharides is the very famous fermentation reaction. Fermentation reaction involves conversion of sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This reaction is an essential part of respiration, and it is also called anaerobic respiration. And it takes place in a series of steps, which is quite complex, and we will be discussing this process under glycolysis at some other place. So viewers, toward the end of this video, I would like to summarize the very important difference between reducing and non-reducing sugars, and it is often asked in exams. As you have seen that reducing sugars must have a free carbonyl group, which is anomeric carbon, and it is C1 in means carbon 1 in case of aldosis, for example glucose, and it is carbon 2 in case of ketosis, for example in case of fructose. On the contrary, non-reducing sugars don't have a free carbonyl group. Second point is that as I explained in the previous video, these reducing sugars exist in hemiacetal or hemiketal form, and I have drawn these structures also in the previous video. On the contrary, non-reducing sugars exist in acetal or ketal form. The third thing is that they exhibit mutual rotation. I explained it in the previous video that this is the conversion of alpha D form into beta D form to form a racemic mixture. So this change in specific rotation. So mutual rotation is exhibited by reducing sugars, whereas it is not exhibited by non-reducing sugars. Next is reducing sugars form OSA zones in presence of phenylhydrazine, and these OSA zones are not formed in case of non-reducing sugars. Similarly, they form oximes with hydroxylamine. This is hydroxylamine, whereas non-reducing sugars do not form oximes. The examples of reducing sugars are like glucose, fructose, maltose, etc. And the examples of non-reducing sugars are sucrose from oligosaccharides and glycogen, starch, and all other polysaccharides. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we will talk about the structures of oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. We'll learn to draw these structures in Haworth form. Please keep watching my videos, and don't forget to leave your comments and feedback. Thank you.